I'm ready to fight, ready to put on a great show, a one-sided ass beating.
Break, don't punch. Hold up. Break.
My, oh my, what a fight. It was most definitely one-sided, but not how Errol Spence pictured it. Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence as badly as I've seen a top fighter get beat at this level. I won't be a prisoner of the moment and discount the greatness of Spence and say stuff like he should retire and this, that, and the third, which I see a lot of people doing. I just got to acknowledge that we're seeing something we've literally never seen before. First male fighter to be undisputed 2 times, man. You got to clap for that, man. And when you talk about the fight, obviously we saw the head shots and Spence getting his head knocked back. The blood was punishing the body too. Before I get too deep into that, I want to point out a couple things that just really stood out to me. First off, I think Errol Spence was completely surprised and taken off his game by the strength of Terence Crawford, right? We know Bud has that wrestling, grappling background, and it definitely served him well in the fight, and it was in the details. We know wrestling is a sport that requires good balance and good core strength, and both of those attributes were on display last night. The fight didn't have a whole lot of clinching, and it's for a reason. Number one, Bud was just straight out rejecting the clinch. And number two, when the clinch was initiated, Bud solidly held his ground and even pushed him back, especially early on. The second thing that stood out was the absolute incompetence of Errol Spence, especially when he used his jab. I had a strong feeling Bud would come out southpaw to try to neutralize the jab from Spence and use a speed advantage. And boy, did he. But what was even more surprising was how Spence didn't make a single adjustment. And I'm sure Bud was surprised as well. In the post-fight interview, you hear Bud talk about the changes he made, specifically establishing a hard jab to stop Spence in his tracks because, he knows Spence is an aggressive fighter, which he executed to perfection. Bud knew he couldn't fight him the same way, and he made adjustments, right? Bud knew that when he fought Errol Spence, he was going to have to do some things he'd never done before, or do things better than he's ever done before, right? But when you look at Spence throughout the fight, there were absolutely no changes to his style. He tried to fight Crawford the same exact way he's fought every other opponent, and he paid the price for it. It was the same 1-2 or 1-1-2, and he had absolutely no success throughout the whole fight. And he finally got caught throwing that long jab to the body that he'd been getting away with. It's almost non-committal. He takes a big wide step and tries to go to the body. The first knockdown was very amateurish from Spence. He tried that long jab across his body, which essentially left him butt naked, for the southpaw left hand. There's a reason you don't see a lot of body jabbing compared to other punches in boxing, and that's because it's a very dangerous punch. You're very vulnerable, when you try to jab to the body, especially when you're in against an elite counterpuncher, right, who will make you pay. And a lot of fighters, they can make you miss, but only a handful can make you miss and make you pay, right? And that's definitely Terence Crawford. But in my opinion, it was terrible IQ and bad coaching. If Spence would have tried that encounter, if I was Derek James, I would have told him, I would have stopped the sparring immediately and said, you can't do that. And it's not that it's a bad punch. It's just that when you throw it, you're hanging out to dry. Right, you can't even bring up the other hand to cross block in most cases, right? Especially when you're lunging like Spence says. It's just not a safe punch, especially against a fighter like Crawford, right? They probably should have just abandoned the body jab altogether, in my opinion, and tried another way to attack the body. And Errol talked about his timing being off, and I completely disagree. It's one thing for your timing to be off. It's a completely different thing when the other guy's much faster than you and you're getting beat to the punch. It's not timing when every time you throw something, you're getting cracked with bombs. That's not a timing issue. That's a skill issue. I don't think you'll ever say it, but Crawford is better than Spence in every way possible. Faster, stronger, the better boxing IQ. And really, that's what you saw. If you want to strip the fight of all the storylines and things like that, what you saw was one fighter who was just much better than the other fighter. And after that fight, I strongly have to agree that it is most definitely the Terence Crawford era in boxing. I don't see anyone at 47, making him break a sweat. I think a rematch is a terrible idea. I think Spence would only do it for the money. And we all know what happens when you do things and your heart's not in it. But let me know what y'all thought about the fight. Were you surprised? Did you think Spence would win? Did you think he would put up a better performance? Let me know what y'all thought about the fight. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.